Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today's discussion is about the Environmental International Diploma course. The question which we'll discuss today is, as you can see in the screen, we have a question here and having two sub questions with two sub questions. One is of 12 marks and another is of 8 marks. As you can see, read the question. The question, it reads as ISO 14001:2015 requires an organization to determine its environmental aspects and associated environmental impacts. Significant aspects and impacts need to be addressed by the environmental management system. So question based on this first paragraph is explain how environmental aspects and impacts should be identified. And the second question is explain how the significance of environmental aspect and impacts can be evaluated. The first question is 12 marks and second question is 8 marks. You need to understand first of all that is an explain kind of question. In Nebosh you can see a lot of kind of questions: explain, give an account of, outline and identify. All these kind of questions must be answered differently as it's being asked. In here, explain question, you need to explain with reason, and the question is how environmental aspects and impacts should be identified. The question you need to understand properly. If to do that, you need to read the question 3 to 4 5 times exactly with the concentration. In this question, an organization requires ISO 14000 and 2015. So you need to know that ISO 14015 applicable 2015 applicable to all organizations more than 5 employees. So in this question, organization to determine environmental aspects and associated environmental impacts. You need to understand what is meant by environmental aspect and impact. For an organization, aspect can be based on its activity and processes and its services. So for example, an activity of handling hazardous chemicals and activity of handling hazardous chemicals will have aspects: potential spillage and leakages of chemicals, okay, and its impacts should be contamination of soil, water, air, etc. For example, a company which designs products and its aspect will be use of copper as a conductor, or its impact will be natural resource depletion, so because it's using the raw material for its product design. So for example, a company which is having transportation of material, and it will have an aspect of generation of exhaust emissions, harmful gases, and the impacts will be air pollution, emission of gases from its stacks, and etc. So you need to understand carefully what is aspect and impacts. So you need to explain how environmental aspects and impacts should be identified. There are a lot of methods, environmental impacts and methods should be there are a lot of methods how you can explain how environmental aspect and impact should be identified, how you can identify environmental aspect and impacts. There are a lot of ways to identify. For example, taking into account all business activities, you need to take into account all business activities, processes, procedures, and also the stakeholders involvement. Ensure that you need to resulting impacts that result from all processes, activities and operations identified and assessed. You need to make sure while you are considering aspects and impacts, you need to make sure that you have already considered all processes, activities and operations. Where reasonable, both direct and indirect significant impacts must be considered for mitigation and are recorded in the environmental aspect and impact register. So while doing an environmental impact assessment, you will have to consider all the processes, procedures, activities and materials involved, stakeholders involved, everything into consideration, and you need to make an environmental aspect and impact register. You understand? I hope you understand what is an aspect and what is an impact. Aspect means what are its activities, potential spillages, activities, a chemical company handling chemicals, a chemical company which is designing a product, a company which is transporting materials. So all these companies, exemplified company, all these mentioned example companies will have different aspects and different impacts. For example, I repeat, handling of hazardous chemicals, company which handles hazardous chemicals will have aspect aspect, potential spillages and leakages, and the impacts will be contamination of soil, water, air, etc. And the company which design product which will have aspect use of copper as conductor and different equipments, so it will have impact of natural resource depletion, use of raw materials, etc. Because of the use of raw materials, it will have natural resource depletion. Services, transportation of material company, a company which serves as a transporting material, so this will have a generation of exhaust emission from the vehicle, harmful gases and air pollution as an effect and impact. So this is how you will answer the first question. You need to elaborate this question into an answer which should be given as 12-mark question. And if you go to the second question, how the significance of environmental aspect and impacts can be evaluated. There are a lot of ways to evaluate the environmental aspect and impact. So as you said, you need to make a environmental risk register. You need to identify the processes, activities and procedures of the company, who is the stakeholders involved, what are the factors and what are the impacts that will be used into the air, water, noise and waste, and all sorts of environmental aspects should be considered. So this question is a big question. You can write many things on these two questions asked. So but you need to outly explain how the environmental aspect and impact should be identified. As I explained, you can identify by analyzing the process, procedure, activities and resources and the stakeholders involved. You need to identify all these things. You need to analyze all these things, whatever I have mentioned, and write each point at 12 marks. Okay, and explain how the significance of environmental aspects. The next question, explain how the significance of environmental aspects and impacts can be evaluated. Significance can be evaluated by impact assessment and different activities involved, and which is more significant to a specific organization will not be significant to another organization. So it is easy to write 8 points including in the explain sentences. So example, here you need to explain only the significance of environmental impacts can be evaluated, how it will be impacted. So some give examples of how scoring. Some candidates explain how it will be stating the criteria first needs to be established. You need to make use of your knowledge in the impact assessment procedures. I hope you got something, and if you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask in comments and share this. Thank you very much.